Everything begins with silence. Not the fragile silence of empty rooms or abandoned alleys, but the ancient kind, the silence that feels alive, heavy, and aware. The silence of forests older than memory, where roots coil like veins of the earth and leaves whisper stories predating human language. Step deep enough into such places and the world you know begins to thin. The noise of modern life fades, replaced by something older, something watching. This presence is not hostile, yet not welcoming. It simply observes, patient and ancient. Humanity has felt it since the beginning. We turned it into myths. Spirits, angels, demons, guardians, forest watchers. Hundreds of names, hundreds of cultures, yet all pointing to one hidden truth. The Fae existed, not as winged creatures from children's tales, but as a real civilization that once walked beside us. Tonight, we return to the time before stories became legends. Before legends became distant memories, when humans still remembered the Fae as neighbors, not fantasies. Across continents, ancient people described beings almost human, yet moving with impossible grace. Tall silhouettes gliding between trees, small agile figures racing across branches with supernatural speed, lights drifting through forests glowing, conscious, aware. Over time, scholars dismissed these accounts as imagination. But when the same descriptions appear from Indonesia to Ireland, from the Middle East to the Arctic, the idea of coincidence collapses. Different eras, different languages, yet the same beings appear again. Truth doesn't die, it buries itself and waits. Long before metal, noise, and cities, Earth was vast and unbroken. Forests stretched endlessly, rivers carved untouched valleys. Mountains rose without a single human road etched into them. And in this quiet world, another society flourished, one form not through dominion, but harmony. They called themselves the Fae. Their bodies resembled ours, but were shaped by nature and energy. Some were small and mischievous, some tall and graceful, some powerful guardians of sacred lands. Though varied in form, they were united by a bond deeper than blood, the earth itself. They felt the pulse of soil, the breath of rivers, the subtle language of wind. Energy wasn't a concept to them, it was life, speech, identity. It was their strength, and later, their curse. As humans multiplied, we reshaped the world. Forests fell, rivers shifted, land bent beneath our needs. The Fae watched, first curious, then concerned. Where they built with balance, we carved with force. Where they listened, we took. What began as difference became distance, and distance became fear. The earliest conflicts came from misunderstandings. Humans wandered into sacred groves, disrupting delicate energy fields. The Fae responded with illusions meant to warn, not attack, bending light, shifting perception. But humans, frightened and confused, interpreted it as hostile magic. Fear twisted into violence. Violence became stories. Stories hardened into legends that painted the Fae as monsters. Yet there was no great war, no final clash between worlds. There was the Great Retreat. Slowly, silently, the Fae withdrew. They vanished into forests humans abandoned, into valleys untouched by roads, into layers of existence our senses can no longer reach. Some believe they shifted into a parallel plane. Others say they cloaked themselves from human perception, or returned to the last sacred places still alive with energy. What matters is simple. The Fae were not destroyed. They hid to survive, to preserve, to wait. But their presence never fully disappeared. Travelers report tall, pale figures standing motionless between trees. Villagers glimpse small humanoids flickering across branches. Children speak with unseen companions. Fishermen describe shapes underwater too fluid for humans, too human for animals. These stories persist not because people crave fantasy, but because something still watches from the edges. The Fae never left. They only stepped sideways into the thin places between worlds. And if you've ever sensed a presence in a quiet forest, not threatening, not familiar, simply observing, you've brushed against their border. Tonight we walk that border. We uncover who the Fae were, why they vanished, and why their story is far from over. This is the hidden world of the Fae, a civilization forgotten, a truth buried, a memory waiting to awaken. Before silence became their shield, before hiding became the only path to survival, there was an era when the world breathed in perfect balance. A time when the Fae walked openly beneath the sky and the earth glowed with quiet resonance. Though barely remembered, traces remain etched in stone, whispered in fading manuscripts, alive in the wind moving through ancient forests. To understand why the Fae retreated, we must first understand what they once were. Long before human empires rose, when water ran clearer than glass, the Fae lived in vast natural sanctuaries shaped not by tools, but by intention. Trees bent gracefully near their dwellings, forming arches and corridors. Rivers glimmered with soft light, responding to energy currents the Fae guided gently. Everything lived in mutual harmony. No human city has matched the quiet beauty of what they built. There were forest cities where enormous trees intertwined into towering structures lit by soft blue pulses. Mountain enclaves where stone vibrated with deep protective resonance. River settlements where water carried stories, images, and memories. Every part of their civilization was woven seamlessly into nature. For the Fae, the earth was conscious a partner, not a resource. Forests remembered joy. Water carried emotion. Mountains listened in their slumber. Yet even in peace, the Fae sensed change. Human tribes were growing small, scattered, but curious. They expanded beyond their early lands, driven by survival and ambition. The Fae watched, fascinated by a species whose lives burned quickly, whose hands shaped tools, whose voices carried fierce determination, but admiration mixed with concern. Fae memories lasted centuries. Human stories changed each generation. To the Fae, this made humans unpredictable, quick to forget, quick to fear. The first meetings were peaceful but fragile. Some humans wandered into glowing forests, drawn by gentle lights. Fae approached carefully tall figures with luminous eyes, smaller ones peeking from roots. Some humans felt awe, others felt terror. Respect blurred with fear, and fear hardened into suspicion. Misunderstandings grew. A single human shout about a figure in the trees could shift an entire tribe's beliefs. A faint Fae illusion meant as a warning became a tale of hostile magic. Myths formed not from lies, but from truths seen through frightened eyes. Still, the Fae hoped coexistence was possible. For a time it was. Ancient carvings show tall, luminous beings beside human symbols. Cave paintings depict glowing shapes dancing with hunters under the moon. But as humans grew into larger communities, conflict spread territory, resources, and stories that painted the unknown as dangerous. Humans began claiming lands sacred to the Fae. A 1,000-year grove became a hunting ground. A memory-holding river became a fishing site. A guardian mountain was carved for stone. The Fae responded with environmental warnings, thick fog, echoing harmonics, drifting lights. None were meant to harm, but humans misread them as aggression. Fear deepened. The fragile bridge fractured. The earliest spirit and forest creature legends appeared during this time, not describing monsters but neighbors misunderstood. Yet even amid tension, curiosity grew. Young humans ventured deeper, not with weapons but with questions. Some Fae watched human celebrations, fires crackling, families gathering, children laughing, and saw warmth unlike anything in their own long, quiet lives. For a moment, hope returned, but history rarely follows the hopeful. Human villages became towns, then early fortified communities. The divide widened. To the Fae, whose memories stretched endlessly, the change felt like a storm rising, a storm they feared they could not outrun. Even so, they stayed. They believed harmony could survive. They believed humans would listen. They believed the earth would speak for them. But belief breaks slowly. As human noise grew, the earth's pulse weakened. For the Fae beings bound to nature's rhythm, this fading heartbeat was the first sign of an ending they could no longer ignore. The balance trembled. The world shifted, and the silence that once belonged to them began to fade. As the world slipped into a new era, the harmony that once tied all living things began to thin. It didn't shatter in an instant, it faded slowly, like a familiar rhythm falling out of sync. Winds changed their tone. Rivers moved with uncertainty. Forests whispered more warnings than songs. Humans barely noticed, but to the Fae who felt the earth's pulse as clearly as a heartbeat, something essential had shifted. For the first time in thousands of years, the Fae felt unease. They had always trusted the elements, land, water, air. These forces were their teachers and allies. But now those allies seemed restless, as though the earth sensed a coming storm. And at the center of that storm stood humanity. Humans were evolving faster than any species the Fae had ever observed. Villages grew into towns overnight. Forests were reshaped, rivers redirected, land carved open. To the long-lived Fae, this rapid growth felt like wildfire, beautiful but uncontrollable. Still, they didn't fear humans. Fear wasn't in their nature. But worry began seeping in like a quiet mist. Among the many clans, debate stirred. Some believed humans could be guided, that mutual understanding might still be restored. Others warned that humans had crossed a threshold they could never return from. Their ambition, once unleashed, would consume everything. This was the beginning of the Fae's internal fracture. Signs of imbalance appeared everywhere. River clans found waters clouded with unfamiliar substances. Mountain clans felt deeper tremors in the stone. Forest clans sensed distress in ancient trees whose healing slowed. Nature was changing, and the Fae could no longer stay silent. Gently they tried to reach out. On moonlit nights they allowed distant silhouettes to be seen, peaceful and glowing. They arranged stones, shaped leaves, painted spirals of light, silent invitations for dialogue. But humans misread them. Some saw blessings, others warnings, and many believed dark spirits were at work. Fear, once awakened, became impossible to control. As seasons turned, human curiosity grew even faster than their fear. Explorers ventured into deeper territories and found traces of the Fae. Strange footprints, perfect clearings, floating lights. Some thought them divine, some thought them dangerous. But a rare few felt something more, a sense of recognition. These were the listeners, humans who sensed the forest watching with neither cruelty nor malice. But even they couldn't stop what humanity was becoming. Tools evolved, metalwork advanced, settlements expanded, landscapes shifted faster than the earth could adapt. To the Fae, watching this transformation felt like standing on a cliff as the ground eroded beneath them. The Fae knew a choice was coming. Reveal themselves and risk chaos or fade into unseen shadows. They waited for a sign. The sign came, but not as guidance, rather as an accident. One clouded night, human hunters followed prey into a sacred grove. Unaware it was protected by ancient Fae energies. When they crossed the threshold, the grove responded instinctively. Light spiraled, air vibrated. Shadows twisted, a natural defense centuries old awakened. The hunters panicked. They fled, then returned with others armed with fire and metal. They struck trees and set flames to the grove, desperate to reclaim control over what frightened them. The Fae did not attack. They summoned rain, soothed the land, and retreated. But the message was unmistakable. Humans no longer wandered the wilds, they conquered them. That single misunderstanding widened the divide beyond repair. In the decades that followed, more incidents echoed it. Fear fed conflict, conflict fed fear. The fragile threads linking both worlds frayed to their limit. The Fae realized the age of divergence had arrived, and yet, hope remained. A final hope rooted not in fear, but in memory, the belief that the earth itself might reveal a path forward. A path to preserve both the natural world the Fae cherished and the people shaping it. They couldn't know that the earth's answer would come in a way no prophecy had ever foreseen. Through an event that would reshape both civilizations, the Great Convergence. Not a clash, but an awakening. For centuries, the Fae and humans watched each other from a distance. But distance has a strange way of collapsing when curiosity grows faster than fear. And eventually, it did. The first bridges between the two worlds were not treaties, not alliances, not grand negotiations. They were moments, small, fragile, accidental moments born from emotion rather than intention. A hunter who spared a glowing figure he found injured near a riverbank. A farmer's daughter who left food at the forest's edge, believing the trees whispered to her. A Fae child who wandered too close to a human settlement and was gently guided back by a woman who treated him not as a monster, but as a lost child. Little things, soft things. The kinds of moments history books never record, but that change history all the same. Because before understanding comes trust, and before trust comes emotion. The Fae, for all their ancient wisdom, had never encountered a species as unpredictable as humans. Humanity lived with an intensity the Fae found both frightening and fascinating. Humans felt deeply, loudly, quickly. They laughed easily, cried openly, loved fiercely, hated fiercely. Their lives were short, burning bright and fast like flames the Fae could not understand. To the Fae, emotion was a river, something to be navigated calmly. To humans, emotion was a storm. And storms, no matter how terrifying, can also be beautiful. For the first time, both civilizations saw something they had never expected. They could care for each other. But caring is dangerous. Caring blurs boundaries. Caring makes strangers into possibility, and possibilities into consequences. And so began what historians now call the era of crossing hearts. A time when curiosity outweighed fear. A time when human and Fae footsteps overlapped on riverbanks, in hidden clearings beneath moonlit trees. A time when the world softened, just enough for connection to bloom. These early relationships, friendships, alliances, quiet companionships, shaped the destiny of both worlds more deeply than any battle ever would. Because where emotion grows, decisions follow, and where decisions follow, consequences rise. Some Fae elders warned that humans lived too quickly, felt too intensely, changed too rapidly. They feared that bonding with such beings would unbalance their long, delicate connection to the earth. Some human leaders whispered that the Fae were dangerous, powerful, mysterious, and that opening hearts to them meant opening doors to the unknown. Yet despite warnings from both sides, bonds continued forming. Not because they were allowed, not because they were safe, but because they were human. And because they were Fae, two species that had always been destined to collide not through war but through emotion. And emotion, once awakened, cannot be undone. Some humans found solace in Fae wisdom, a kind of spiritual calm they had never known. Some Fae found fascination in human courage, a type of warmth they had never felt. But deeper than friendship, deeper than curiosity, something else began to bloom. Something forbidden, something powerful, something inevitable: love. Rare, fragile, and often tragic, but real. Love between beings who lived centuries and beings who lived decades. Love between energy and flesh. Love between worlds that were never meant to intertwine. The world ignores boundaries when hearts refuse to obey them. These relationships, though few, left shockwaves on both sides, not because they were scandalous, but because they proved something neither world wanted to acknowledge: that the Fae and humans were not opposites. They were reflections. Humanity showed the Fae the intensity of feeling. The Fae showed humanity the depth of connection. Emotion became the bridge the universe had denied them for ages. But bridges, no matter how beautifully built, are the first to break when storms come. Because as bonds grew stronger, so did the shadows around them. Jealousy, fear, misunderstanding, loss. Two worlds opening their hearts meant two worlds exposing their wounds. And sometimes the wounds bleed faster than they heal. The age of divergence had begun long ago. But emotion, raw, unpredictable, uncontrollable emotion, was the force that would decide whether the two civilizations moved toward unity or toward collapse. The next chapter of their history would not be shaped by war, but by feelings neither side was prepared to face. This is where the story turns, where closeness becomes conflict, where connection becomes consequence, where emotion becomes destiny. In the end, every story about two worlds is a story about distance. Not distance measured in land, but distance measured in understanding. And for the Fae and humans, that distance was never physical. It was emotional. It always had been. As connections deepened, as small friendships grew into whispered bonds, as forbidden affection took root in shadowed clearings and moonlit forest paths, fate began to tighten its grip. Because the universe does not allow two worlds to merge without asking for something in return, and what it asked for was sacrifice. The Fae, whose lives stretched across centuries, felt the slow ache of watching humans burn brightly then fade. Humans, whose hearts beat fast and fragile, carried the weight of loving beings who would outlive them by lifetimes. Even the earth felt it, the imbalance of two energies trying to intertwine. Emotion had brought them together, but emotion was also tearing them apart. For some, the pain was too much. Fae clans who once tolerated human curiosity withdrew once more, afraid of bonds that could shatter them. Human villages who once embraced their mystical neighbors began to fear losing their people to the forest's call. And in the heart of that tension, a single truth emerged. Love can bridge worlds, but it cannot erase the nature of those worlds. A Fae may live to witness 1,000 sunsets. A human may only witness a fraction of that. A human heart may change its path in mere months. A Fae heart may carry the same feeling for centuries. Two rhythms, two destinies. Two truths that refuse to align. Some say the final separation began with a single heartbreak. A human who aged while the Fae they loved remained untouched by time. Others say it began with a Fae who wept for the first time in centuries, realizing they were giving their eternal life to someone whose time was fleeting. But in truth, it was never one moment. It was all of them. Every tear, every goodbye, every lingering glance across the boundary of forest and settlement. The Great Retreat. The vanishing of the Fae was not because of hatred, but because of love. Because love made them vulnerable. Because love made them mortal in ways their bodies never had been. Because love taught them the one thing their ancient wisdom never prepared them for: loss. In their final days among humans, the Fae left signs, soft, subtle, mournful signs. Birdsong that carried a harmony no human composer could replicate. Footprints in morning dew that disappeared too quickly. Warmth in places where no sunlight reached. A whisper against the ear when no one stood behind. A farewell, not of anger, but of gratitude. And then silence, the older silence. The one you feel, not hear. A silence that marks the end of a chapter, not the end of a story. Because even though the Fae withdrew, they left behind something far more powerful than magic or sightings or myth. They left behind the echo of what they felt. Humanity carried the memory of that connection in legends, in folklore, in the ache people feel when they stand in a quiet forest and sense they are not alone. The Fae carried it too hidden in the unseen layers of the world, where they still watch from behind the veil, still listen to the heartbeat of the earth, and still remember the humans who once changed their destiny. And so the legend remains neither forgotten nor fully believed. A reminder that worlds do not need to collide to touch. A reminder that love does not need time to be eternal. A reminder that even if two civilizations can never truly share one path, they can still share one truth. That connection is never a mistake. Even when it hurts, even when it ends. And maybe, somewhere in the deepest forest, untouched by roads or machine, they still walk, tall, quiet, luminous, watching, waiting, wondering if one day, the distance between their hearts and ours might finally close. Until then, they remain the echo of a world just beyond reach. A world that once loved us and perhaps still does. This is the end of their remembered story. But stories like these never truly end. Only pause, only wait, only whisper. If you want this forgotten world to rise again, if you want deeper stories, hidden histories, and truths buried beneath myth, subscribe, follow, and prepare your heart. Because the next legend begins when you're ready to hear it.